Good evening or afternoon. I'm Doron Friedman again, and we're going to talk about the Israeli aftermath. Elections aftermath. Right? It's now 5 days after the elections. It's March 22nd. Elections happened only 2015, of course. Happened only 5 days ago, and I wanted to. Why am I not up there? I wonder. I know I'm being recorded. So let's see if it works. No, maybe the input.
There you go.
All right. Okay. I know I'm being recorded. I'm under pressure. Right. So guys, here we go. Here we are. This is the first slide, and I wasn't sure how to name it. All right. Maybe the elections, or the people have spoken, or as they say in Latin, vox populi, vox dei, or it's the democracy, sweetie. This is in Hebrew. So the people has said its speech, or the voice of the mass is something we need to look at. Okay, and the big thing about this election is that the people spoke very loudly. There was 72% of turnout, 72.3% of turnout of the voters, which is huge. The last 20, 30 years, I don't remember something like that. There was usually 68% maximum in the last years, the last 15 to 20 years. 72 is something of the 70s, maybe, of the 1970s percentage, and it was very clear. They said,
Question about that 72% of what? Are you
70%?
counted? Are you counted? You're eligible to vote, but you didn't vote. I mean, how
yes,
do they?
I'm part of the
20-some?
28 that did not arrive. Because
So
I'm eligible to vote, but only if I'm in Israel at the same day.
So that's really probably a very high percentage of the people living near voting.
Yep, I believe so. It's okay. All the voters that are citizens are eligible to vote. You don't need to register, so I'm automatically in the list. Right. So that's 72%, and the people have spoken very, very clearly, because they said that they want Netanyahu as the prime minister. Now here's a behind-the-screen secret. I was kind of thinking whether I should maybe postpone this talk, because as I told you before, usually in most cases there are no real results. We do not know usually who the prime minister would be after 5 days, because the prime minister needs to form a coalition, and before that he needs to be nominated by the president to form a coalition. And so the Knesset member that is supposed to create those procedures, usually in 5 days, doesn't happen. The law allows the prime minister to have 4 weeks between the day he's being nominated, which will probably be tomorrow or the next day, and then he can get 2 more weeks of extension if he wants to form a coalition, so he have a lot of time. Last time it took the whole 6 weeks almost. In most cases in the history it took almost 6 weeks. In this case it's very clear, because the results were very, very decisive. Netanyahu will be the next prime minister. I have a little debt from last time, and those are fresh pictures from Israel, were sent to me by my son, by my sister, by another friend, and everyone who wanted to see how it actually done, how the procedure is done, how do one vote in Israel. So here we go. it's a room that, let's say, usually it's a public building, like a school, classroom. In the kibbutz it was the dining room. There is a committee. Here is the secretary of the committee, it says here is the chair, and 2 other members of the committee. And here is the box where people are putting in the envelope. The person comes in, has to show his ID. There are 2 lists on the table, and they should be identical, and the person needs to be located, person's name, they announce the name by the ID, and then the person should be located, and then they both, on both books, they cross his name, so he won't come and do it another time, and then the person goes to the polling place. It's table with those, it's like a scientific project board, okay, cupboard, and inside, and there's a, if the trash can is exposed, so everyone can see that the person here doesn't do anything that will maybe throw other parties notes to the garbage. And one of the job of the people, of the committee people, is to go in every half an hour and see that all those, here's my son, I'll show you, all those pockets here are full with the right notes. So this is my son, he just voted for the first time, took a selfie in the voting place. Here is how the envelope that you receive from the committee, it needs to be signed by 2 people from the committee, otherwise it's not kosher. And it's called kosher votes. This is how it's called. Yeah, it's called kosher votes. And you can see here all the names, and here is the notes. And here I have a movie taken by another friend of mine. Okay, and it's called The Moment of Truth. Now, truth is also emet. Emet is the Labour Party. Labour Party, oops, not that, sorry, my bad. I double clicked it. There you go. So he took the Labour Party note, puts it in. You can see that there's the 3 letters that I described, and also it says here Labour Party or so on. So it tells you what it is. Just to do it and also show the camera. No one is there to help him. There you go. So here is how it's done. You take the note, you put it in an envelope that was empty before. Yes, go ahead.
It's done by precinct then. In other words, in the United States, you can only vote in your precinct. They have the names, I assume, of a very limited number of people, usually geographically, the residences in that area.
Right.
So the same thing in Israel?
Yes, it's decided by where you live, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can't vote at a different precinct?
No.
Right.
No, only at one place,
Yeah.
and that is it. Yeah.
In that clip, it looked like some of the pockets were empty.
Maybe there are more pockets than running parties.
Oh, hard to believe.
Okay, but there should be 22 or 21 parties that ran there. 21 or 22 should be filled out with those. So
And you put only 1 piece of paper in the
yeah,
envelope.
yes, and you want to make sure that it's empty before, so no one will fail your own vote. Okay, it should be empty. You put only 1. You make sure that it's only 1, not 2 are stuck together. Because if they find out that it's 2, they'll disqualify the whole vote.
No hanging shells.
This is my sister putting in her vote. That's in another place. This is a dining room of a kibbutz here. So here is where she puts in her vote, like I showed you before. And here is the formal announcement. It says here the Central Committee elections to the 20th Knesset, right? And here is the press release with all the votes. Here is 72.3% of voting. And here are how many people are eligible to vote. I'm probably here, the 362 in the end. One of them is me. And let's say it says here 5,878,000. So that's basically almost 6 million people. Okay, how many voted and how many were disqualified? 43,000 were disqualified. It's more than a vote. Okay, more than a seat. A seat today was worth 23,482. A seat in the Knesset. Okay, we're worth almost 33,500, which is quite high because it determined by how many people are voting. Okay, divided by 120. So it's changing each time according to the show up of the people. So it's relatively high. Usually it was 20,000, 28,000, maybe 30.
Isn't that an awful lot of votes to be disqualified?
Throughout Israel, you know, people, that's it. I don't know.
It's about 1%.
Yeah, it's about 1%. 43,000 or 40.4 million, 0.2. So it's about 1%, yes. That's probably one of 100 doesn't work, it's right. Notice stuck, maybe people trying to trick. I don't know. But those are the facts.
What's the
So-
counting process like?
You basically, in the evening, you
I
break,
think it's a tenth of 1%.
you break, no, 1%. 1%. Here there's like a lock here, it's not like, it's like this plastic strip, okay, that you cut it. All the people in the committee need to be there, or at least 3 of them. They can change during the elections, during the day. And then they cut it, they open it up, they first make sure, they open it up, they open each envelope, and they usually those people are from different parties. You can see here. See, here is an ultra-Orthodox person here. You see his kippah, his peos, here, right there. Okay, and 2 others that I can't identify. They're all Jews, so they all have horns, so I'm not sure about that. I can't see their tail. So, but
So this, Israel is one of the most, or if not the most technically advanced countries in the world. What an old-fashioned voting system.
Mhm.
This is the biggest surprise of the elections to me.
But it's effective.
it works. Yeah, I mean it works. Usually the rules and the laws are behind technology. One of the cases.
It's better than hanging chads.
Right, but the results were known within
Yes.
maybe 20
Yeah.
hours.
That's what,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the
The
interesting
results were
thing.
known immediately, within a day, 24
Because
hours.
it's
They
bipartisan.
just took out the absentee ballots and so on. There are absentee ballots if you're a soldier, if you're in the service of the country, outside, even in the embassies here, they did vote. Okay, but only on those cases. All right, so this is basically what we had there. So how the voting is taking place. You take it out in the presence of everyone, you take the vote out, you look at it, you announce the name out loud, and you put it on one of those pins.
Spindle.
Spindles that you
Spindle.
and that's it, and then you count it in the end, and you check how many people showed up in this polling place, and compare it to the sum of all the votes, and make sure that they match, and so on. And then you have to sign the protocol. The chair would sign. You will sign. I did it in 2003, so I can tell you. Yep. All right. So, and this is basically how it was done. Here are the final results, but I've with the little faces. I thought it was funny. But I'm going now to the results of what happened. Guys, we talked about the pre-election leading concept, remember? It did not change. Remember, I showed you, here is what we expect. The Israeli government is basically, or Israeli society is basically politically right, and it's religious more and more, and the Israelis voters are more right or more religious, or both of them, with time. About a year ago in the second or third lecture, we talked about Israeli demography, talked about Sephardic and Ashkenazis, about the reasons to this situation right now. Okay, but this is what's happening. Population is moving to the right all the time and becoming more and more religious because of demography. Demography is the leading underground current that is pushing all the time, and there might be each time that we go to vote, there might be some, you know, noise on the big wave. Might be some noises of different events. You know, it could be a war, could be you know, a political demonstration, could be terrorist attacks that would change the votes temporarily. And of course, what voting is one-time sample, and that's it, once 4 years. But in general, the population change is the biggest factor, and it's taking effect here. The natural coalition, I talked about the natural coalition, and some of you asked me who is going to be, in my opinion, the next prime minister, and I said it will be Netanyahu on the first option in Netanyahu, second in Netanyahu, and third in Netanyahu. Netanyahu will be the prime minister. We want to see on which terms, and now we know, but Netanyahu, everyone was expecting him to be, except for people who tried to see it otherwise, but it didn't work. So the Israel Natural Coalition is right-leaning. There are smaller gaps between the parties that would create it, and there will be a coalition of right. I mean, in terms of right and left, and religion and secular, there are less gaps. The coalition would be righty and more religious. And the elections are now only emphasized this tendency and sharpened it, because the Netanyahu, or the Likud, there is a big Likud. Netanyahu created the biggest Likud in many, many, many years. This was the surprise. The surprise was how big the Likud was. Here are the results. And here I created a chart of the coming coalition. It is, I can't think of when I could have done something like that 5 days after the elections. Usually 5 days after the elections, no one knows what parties will form the coalition. No one knows what parties will be there. Today we can tell for sure. We don't know exactly which person will take what office. That we don't know yet. We don't know who will be the Minister of Defense, the Foreign Minister. It is very, very, very high percentage. It will be the treasurer would be Kahlon, Moshe Kahlon. We know that it will probably happen, but otherwise we don't know. But we can't tell who the parties are, which is something that is totally, we couldn't expect it. You can see that the parties that will form the coalition will be composed of 67 seats, 56% of the Israeli voter, of the Israeli Knesset, I'm sorry, and it is very rare that the decision was so decisive. Netanyahu can now form a righty government. I'm using the term righty because it is how it's called in Israel, so righty and lefty. Here it's kind of more liberal and conservative. So, the government will be righty. The government hasn't been completely pure right since 1988, when Yitzhak Shamir formed the government. So it's been almost 30 years. Even the righty government that we had always included some central forces, sometimes even left forces like Avodah. So in the last 30 years to have a righty government, or 25 years to have a righty government, is something we did not expect, but the voter had spoken. And this is basically a very good mirror of the Israeli society. We'll talk about the Israeli society, how it's composed, and I'll touch it again, that Israel is becoming more and more righty and religious, and this is the coalition of the right and the religions. Yes?
Why were the Israeli polls so wrong?
They weren't really wrong, they just missed one spike. And that spike didn't really change the picture, because as I told you, Netanyahu would have been the prime minister even had the polls been right. They only changed the tone. The tone is very bright. Netanyahu is the prime minister, and we know it now. That was the element that the polls missed, and why it was missed, I'll explain. Yes.
I mean, I think that's a great question.
I know I'm going to attend to it.
Because the
So
exit
don't answer it because you know the answer.
No, just the question though.
Okay.
I'm not gonna I'll let you answer it.
Good.
But the exit polls, which were done on the day of the election,
Even they
they
were
were
even
very
they
wrong.
were wrong.
Very wrong.
The exit polls were wrong. And probably it was before because even the exit polls were wrong. And it was probably because some people turned down the opportunity to take the exit poll. And probably those were the people that made the spike. The change, yes.
So you're going to tell us which party, how he makes up the number he has?
Of course. Yeah, that's my next slide.
Okay.
Yes.
So in the graph, you have the majority there with the Likud, and then and that's made up of Likud, Kavlon, and what else? What other?
Likud, it's but for those 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's a coalition.
Okay.
I got it. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are opposition. All the rest are in, and they compose the 67 year. Yes.
The two parties that got the most votes were both secular. And
The most votes, those here, yes.
The most seats, I mean, the most seats.
Both seats, yeah. Those are two parties. One is the head of the coalition. One will be the head of the opposition.
So they're both secular. So you were saying that the Knesset will be, or that the society will be more religious,
More religious,
but they're both secular.
but not totally secular. They are not completely secular. They have like light religions in them. Especially the Sephardic guys. They are all believers of God. Okay, they all believe they have God. There is a God. They are all Orthodox. The fact that they don't go to shul every weekend doesn't mean they don't eat kosher. They are slightly religious, and there are more and more of them. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's fair to characterize the mass vote, aside from party names and people names, was the vote for the status quo, was it a real strong vote for not change? That's what it feels like to me.
What do you mean status quo? In what aspect?
Business as usual.
Yeah.
Just what's been going on, only maybe a little more so. I mean,
You are.
it's not a, it doesn't
You're
look
asking
like a
or you're
vote.
stating?
I'm
Because I agree
asking.
with your statement.
I'm asking. If
Basically, the vote was not more of the same in terms of politics and foreign relations and so on, and situation with the Arabs and so on. It was a vote of more of the same in politics and even more righty, and it was a request to change in the economy field. They are asking the prime minister to take another different direction in economy, but politically it was a huge yell of "Shut up, you liberals!" Yes. Yes.
So, with the more religious bodies taking a more active role in Israel, it seems that that's also seeming to be true in their neighbors as well. Is it a coincidence that the more religious right is more in power in the Middle East, not just in Israel, but in their neighbors?
You mean the religious extreme?
Extreme?
I guess if you had a neighbor that's constantly trespassing through your area and tries to change his the fence between you and throwing rocks at you, I believe you will become a little more hateful as well towards his neighbors as well. Yeah, so we have a lot of frictions with the neighbors, and yes, the Israeli society is becoming more and more angry with this situation. Yeah.
Doron, isn't it true, though, that the seats of the two religious parties that are in the Knesset actually dropped over the last election?
It is, and we'll talk about it. Mainly because of Ishai. Yeah, okay, so we'll talk about, are we clear about the results? The important thing is, guys, the surprise was that this blue bar is so high. What happened here is that the exit polls and the polls before the elections that actually stopped being published 4 days before the election by the law. You cannot have, on the last 4 or 5 days, you cannot have a vote, polls, published. So you can do them. The parties can do it, but you cannot do that. It can be published. So this was not shown anywhere. Not in the internal votes of the public, of the parties before the election, even in the last days. Okay? Bougie said in an interview tonight, I heard it a few hours ago, he said, I went to sleep in the morning before 2 a.m. I got up with a vote, with a poll from 2 a.m. in the morning. It didn't show it. No one knew it. The exit polls didn't know it. Nothing. This is the surprise.
You did say that this election showed that there's going to be a shift in economic policy. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, the voter is
that
asking
based
this.
on Avodah getting so many seats?
No.
Because they don't really have any power.
No, that's right.
So what would be the motivation for Netanyahu to change?
We'll cover that. We'll talk about it. This is a good question. If I won't answer it by the end or towards the end, you'll ask me to remind me because I don't want to divert so much.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I suppose you'll get to it when you explain the large Arab, the surprisingly
Yes.
large Arab vote.
All right. The large Arab, that was expected. They aimed for 15. They got 13 versus 11 that they had before. There are two reasons to it. One, if you remember the threshold line that we had of 4% or 3.25% at 4 seats. Okay, here is what happened. In the elections before, I'm recapping something from last time. In the previous Knesset, the right, who was also in the government, forming the government, tried to create or established a threshold by the law of 4 seats. The reason or the goal was to eliminate the small parties, which are in many cases are the Arabs and the Israeli small parties, in order to create more more stability in the government. What happened is that it forced the Arabs to join forces and to create one party, because they had 4 and 3 and 5 or something like that, and they weren't sure whether they'll pass this threshold. They didn't want to be eliminated from the Knesset, so they joined forces, all of them, and they created one party. This created two things. First, there was a little higher turnout of Arab voters because they felt that kind of more that the votes are going towards unity. It was nice. And this is one reason. So there was a higher turnout. So they got 13 instead of 11 like before. The other thing is when you have 4 parties, there is more wood chips flying around and going lost when you cut a tree. Alright, so if each party, for example, received 3 votes and some extra, some surplus of votes, those votes are going to the garbage because they didn't get 4, they get slightly under 4. So those votes are going out. If it happens 4 times on top of each party, there's more loss. Here there was only one loss. One time you got 13, you got maybe 13 and a half seats, so it was eliminated or was thrown or was given to another party. There is a calculation about it, but there was less loss in the process because they were united. So we get 13 votes. All right. So here is what happened basically. Again, I wrote that it's the pre-election concept worked. I'll explain again the pre-election votes concept. That basically is the same slide I added. Just you see, I X'd Yahad, Eli Shai, because he didn't pass the bar, didn't pass the threshold. 4 votes of the right were gone, were eliminated. The right could have been even stronger than he shows. Okay, 4 votes almost. He missed the 4th seat by a third of a seat. A third of a seat. So he basically got 3.6, and he missed it by a third of a seat. 10,000 votes where he missed, to get into the Knesset with 4 more Knesset members for the right. That now they don't have, but they have enough even without it. They yell the cry of the people in Israel to the liberals of Israel could have been even louder. And I don't want to speak French, or I'm not repeating what was the cry was, but you remember. So there we go. We have here the Likud, who is very big, Bennett, small party, Kahlon, who is Likud righty, but he's, in terms of economy, he's more for social support and a safety net for people. Here is Shas, Ashkenazim, ultra-Orthodox, those are the Sephardic ultra-Orthodox. Here is Lieberman, who is righty, and Yachad is gone. And what happened here, that we did not expect such a huge Likud. Now, here is the opposition, the 3 lefty parties, and the one very secular, central, but very secular party, Yair Lapid, that the ultra-Orthodox will never agree to sit with him. So he is out. He's not even asking to be there. So he's out. He knows he'll be kicked out if he tries to, so he's not even trying. So here is what we have here. Now, what happened here? Okay? The surprise was the return home to the Likud of the right voters. There was no change in the big sides, like the right to left groups was the same, but there was a huge shift between in the righty parties. And what happened and what caused it is what we call the Gewalt. Who knows Gewalt is in Yiddish? Okay, Gewalt. Okay, in Yiddish it helped me. House is burning, I'm dying. It's the end. That's the Gewalt campaign, and the Gewalt campaign was the name of this campaign was given after the elections, in the last few days by the press. Yes.
I'm not sure that I understand the graph. Are the parties on the right not going to be in the Knesset?
Yes. No, they're going to be in the Knesset, but in the coalition. In the opposition, I'm sorry, in the right. They're going to be in the opposition.
They'll be in the
they'll be in the Knesset, but it's like right now, I don't say the Democrats or Republicans, but they will be the minority in the House.
I see.
Yes.
So the prior slide, you had the majority vote in the Knesset, and you said 1, 2, 3, 4 being
those.
All right, that's the
I
minority.
cut it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be so. Avodah and Likud are on opposites. Will remain on opposite sides. Of the
Avodah.
spectrum. Yeah.
Likud.
All right. So okay.
Okay.
You forgot the OY before the
The who?
OY.
Oi.
The oi?
Oi, Gavor.
Well,
Oi, Gavor.
I'm trying to be here, like Mike said, informative, revealing, interesting, but not giving you my opinions. Right now, look guys, I'm very, I'm going now and showing you in mainly facts. I'm trying to stick to the facts as much as I can, and when I'll give you my insight or my commentary or my opinion, I'll give you a disclaimer before, right? And I'll try to show all sides, and I even have I hope representatives of all sides that can maybe contribute. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the one to the far right on the bottom there, I can't read No,
It-
on the slide to my right,
Way over there.
way over there on the bottom, what is, that says what?
Arabs.
That says the Arabs, okay,
That's
got it.
Arabs, and they are intentionally down
Right.
here.
Yeah.
They are out of the game, out of the political game completely. They are not recognized, meaning they will not be part of the, even of the call of the opposition they won't
I
be.
see, okay.
I mean, they are technically there, but it's like kind of they are, let's say that it is, had there been a lefty government, that was one of the scripts that were possible, a lefty government could not lean on their votes. They will, in most cases, let's say in the past, okay, I don't know what will happen in the future, but in the past there was not even one time that they participated in the government, even if it was a lefty government. They were outside. The Israeli voter demands that the government will rely on Jewish votes. In Yitzhak Rabin's government in '92, Yitzhak Rabin had over 61, and then they supported him from the outside. In the Knesset, when the government was asked to receive the trust of the Knesset, the Arabs voted for the government in order to make sure that it won't fall or dissolve. But they were never part of the government. They are in politics, but it's like taking a Tea Party here and make them part of the government. I think that if Obama had to use the Tea Party's votes even for Obamacare, he wouldn't have wanted to do it. Well, here it would have been nice because it would have shown, bipartisan agreement, but they don't want to use them. Yes.
Yes, here in our press, we had heard quotes about Netanyahu saying he wasn't for the Palestinian
We'll
state.
get there.
Oh,
We'll get it.
what I wanted to know, and then also implying in terms of the Arabs, that they're voting in droves, did that have any impact at all in the outcome of the vote?
It had an impact on the right vote, not on them.
I see.
Probably, again, I don't know, but if no one knows, but statistically it shows, or it doesn't show any change on them, yes.
So you mentioned the Arab vote, and then you mentioned the Jewish viewpoint. What about the Christian voters?
Christians are part of the Arabs in Israel. Yeah, all the Christians in Israel that are residents, or citizens, are Arab Christians.
What if there are just Christians living there who aren't Arabs and they vote?
Yeah.
Where does
There
their
is
vote
no big population of Christians that are not
part of their community?
not part of the Arab. They are all Arabs. All Christians in Israel speak Arabic. Yeah, there are no European Christians that live in Israel. I mean, they have no reason. You see, they are not Jewish, so they can't get citizenship. And if there were let's say, Jehovah's Witnesses, okay, that would like to move to Israel, they would have no basis. Israel will not grant them permanent residence there.
So, but there's the Catholic Church in Israel, and they have in the old city, they have an area where there
And
is.
the priest is Arab.
Oh.
Or maybe they have few of them, maybe representative, but maybe symbolically, but there is no population of non-Arab Christians in Israel. Yeah.
Are there Muslims?
Are there Muslims
Yes.
in Israel?
And if there are Arabs, you were just saying the Arabs are Christian.
The Arab population consists of about 90% of Muslim Arabs and about 10% of Christian Arabs.
What about Baha'i?
Right?
Baha'i?
Baha'i, a small population.
What about the Druze?
Another small population that it's part of the Arab sector. Yes. They speak Arabic, they have similar culture.
Yeah, but the Druze serve in the military.
Yes, but it's another aspect.
But from a demographic.
Demographically, they are Arabs. Maybe they...
But politically, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Because some of them have served actually in the Likud government.
Yeah. Because they serve in the military, most of them. Okay? So, Now I'm going to talk about the Gewalt campaign, because the Gewalt campaign is the element that created the spike, the jump of the Likud. Because what happened, and I want to just turn to the, I want to turn here to the previous scripts that we had before. Remember, when the Avodah created the Herzog or Bougie, created a positive scenario for the future, they said, we want to have about something like a tie, or less than a tie, meaning will be a little bigger than the Likud. And then we'll be able to create the government. It did not work for him, because the Avodah, in order to create a government, need to be bigger than the Likud, because the Likud has the right tendency anyway to draw most parties on his side. In order to draw the parties that are the central parties over here to the Avodah side, to be part of a coalition that is being supported from the outside by the Arabs, they needed an advance on the Likud. The Avodah planned on being bigger than the Likud by at least 4 seats in order to create an Avodah party. This is what you need to bear in mind. So, there was a magic here, okay, done by the magician Netanyahu. The magician. He is now called the magician. He was called the magician before, in the 90s, end of the 90s. He lost his magic for some time, and now he pulled the trick again. Netanyahu knows his voters. He knows the population. He knows what buttons to push. He knows that his voters now, Netanyahu's last 4 days campaign was under the radar because there were no polls allowed. Netanyahu's campaign was not towards the left. He didn't ask the left part or the left voters to vote for him. He knew they will not cross the lines. Netanyahu's only goal was to draw votes for his own party, for the Likud, from the other righty parties. Because he wanted to be much bigger than the Avodah. He knew that being big will give him the president's blessing to try and form a government. He could not care less for his, other little parties, righty parties that will support him. This is what he did. He knew that those buttons that will be pushed will be effective. He basically broke every single political rule or any political ethics.
Right.
Is your opinion?
And it's my opinion, but this is, yes,
Okay.
it's my opinion. Thank you for reminding me. What he did is he knows that his voters have a lot of tribal feeling. Okay, they see the tribe as the big family, something that other societies kind of look at it as antique or whatever, but he knows that they are going back to be very, very loyal to their tribe. He pushed the button of fearing the enemy, And the enemy for that reason, for that purpose was the liberals, the lefties, the liberals, the Arabs, and this is my opinion, but he talked about they are coming on us. He talked about them, he talked about the Arabs in the election days.
Yeah.
He interviewed and he said, ladies and gentlemen, the Arabs are coming in their mass with transits and so on. They are coming in their mass. And this is what I meant by breaking ethics in politics.
Right.
Okay, scare tactics here. So the big fear of righty voters are the lefties that will take over and will sell the country to everyone who wants to pay for it, or the Arabs, Iran, the countries around Israel, all the ISIS stuff that is going on and it's very unstable and so on, and the disputed territories. Those were the buttons that he pushed. Okay? He declared of an emergency, said this is the emergency time, it's either us or them. And he filtered it and he crystallized it to two words, us or them. Us or them. If you don't vote Likud, if you vote Bennett, if you vote Lieberman, if you vote anything else, if you vote Ishai, which is even more righty, you are hurting my chances to build the government, and that is it. And he was very, very effective. Yes?
You know, there's internal politics and there's external politics
Mhm.
in the world.
Mhm.
And my question, I don't know if you can answer this, but do you think that this procedure that he went through to get those votes and to win the election as prime minister will be worth the cost, which, you know...
We'll talk about it. We will talk about it. But I could say that it was very effective. Those are the
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to my opinions
Yeah.
yet. Okay? I try to give the talk and to lecture and to give you the facts, and then we'll be open to questions, and then I'll probably be able to say more about what I think or what I analyze. Yes, go ahead, Keith.
Yeah. Wouldn't you say that to some extent the left played into his hands with Yair Garbuz having
Yes,
basically
absolutely.
a
They only
topaz
understand it
moment?
now. Yes, absolutely. So here is the psychology of an underdog, always. Okay, the psychology of an underdog is to be very, very sensitive about the honor of the leader and of our clan, our tribe. Okay, to run for emergency while there is an emergency, to run to help. Okay, and what happens here is that Netanyahu himself, okay, called them to support him as an underdog leader. Okay? Now, here is a story that I read today. I don't know if it's true or not, but I read it and this is what it says. It says Netanyahu on the last week before the elections received a poll, and it wasn't a regular poll like who are you going to vote for. It will be how much, what do you think about the function, or whom do you think should be the prime minister? It was only between him and Bougie, and it says 58%, and it was a drop of 8% from the previous questionnaire about a week or two ago before, and he said not good, needs to be 8 less. Because he wanted to show his voters that he is losing power and to recruit them. Because what happens in that kind of leadership, when the leader is in trouble here, they go to help the leader. I see the Israeli liberals, when their leader is bleeding, they smell the blood, they come to bite for more, they think about the next step. Oh, I'll succeed him. Okay? The liberals The liberal Israelis, when they see their leader bleeding, they go away. The righty, more conservatives, when they see their leaders' honor and respect lost, they come to help. And he wanted to show them that there is emergency, and he was the underdog. So he said, he wanted to show very, very low on the polls. The best, they say today, aftermath, they say that the best poll was the last before the election. The Friday before the elections, they showed another drop of 3 mandates for the Likud, showed 21. Drop from 24, which was the day before, which I showed you here, to 21 on Friday night. And they said, this is the tendency, and it may be more in 4 days when people are going to vote. This was the best vote for the right. Not for the right, but for Netanyahu. Now, Yair Garbuz is one of the writers in Israel, lefty, and Yair Garbuz spoke in patronized the Sephardic side, the population, right? He said that they believe in mezuzahs. He called them the mezuzahs kissers. Those people who kiss the mezuzah. You are hurting the feelings of a person in the very, very, very basis. This is what happened. What happened is they rushed to help their leader. So all the righty voters that thought maybe we'll go for Bennett, maybe we'll go for Lieberman, maybe we'll go for Kachlon, rushed back home. Now, so, and he pulled to the right. Pulling to the right, meaning he said, I'm not going to give a Palestinian state anymore. So again, he didn't care what it will do to Israel in terms of foreign relations and the relations with America. He didn't care for that. In Hebrew you say, he doesn't see from an inch. He went blindly. He couldn't care who is running over, who is pushing aside, who is hurting. And it was his own colleagues, the other righty parties, that he basically took votes from, and he put to the right, and he created a lot of damage to Israel, as you all know, as I think he had, but he couldn't care less at that minute. He wanted to be the next prime minister, and he said to himself, probably I'll try to cut it later. Yeah.
In psychological terms, he sounds like a megalomaniac.
I'm not a psychologist. I can give you